Hey, I'm Miriam from Dorman Products. Welcome to our video on heater hoses. As you likely know, in a traditional combustion engine, heat is a byproduct of the process. In fact, over half of the power produced is lost to needlessly heating things. Enter the cooling system, which primarily consists of a water pump moving heat in and out of a radiator by way of hoses. Now, at some point, someone got the bright idea to put a tiny radiator in the cabin called a heater core, and interior heat was born. Add in a few other little pieces like coolant bypass hoses so coolant can circulate around the thermostat when it's closed, and the picture of a modern cooling system starts to take shape. That's right, the engine's cooling system is the same as the passenger cabin's heating system. They're interconnected. At Dorman, we don't make every part of the cooling or HVAC system. Radiators, heater cores, and large diameter upper and lower radiator hoses aren't our game. Instead, you'll find us selling complicated hose assemblies, generally of reasonably small diameter, built to carry coolant in smaller quantities in very tight quarters. Bypass hoses, coolant pipes, and coolant assemblies make up the bulk of our catalog. Let me tell you why. Years ago, it was commonplace to repair these pieces with bulk hose, some fittings, connectors, and clamps. Heater cores were usually very accessible, and access under the hood was great. There was lots of space to redesign the factory plumbing. All those items still have their place, but due to the constrained spaces in modern engine bays, creating one's own solution isn't always a viable option. Tight bends, bespoke fittings, and creative coolant flow paths and routing make the prospect of fabricating something of a losing proposition time-wise. Our pre-bent, pre-formed assemblies save valuable installation time and mimic OEM offerings. When we create the parts, we often look at the failure mode, and you'll see our signature upgrades baked right into our parts, identified with our OE Fix value proposition. Given the difficult access many of these coolant hoses have, it's often easy to convince both professional mechanics and DIY customers of the greater value of these parts, even if their cost is slightly higher. For instance, we often will upgrade a hose with aluminum fittings, where an OEM may have used glass reinforced nylon or polymer. We found these materials, while light and strong, degrade less gracefully over time than aluminum. So our OE Fix solutions are often the final piece needed to make a vehicle reliable. We also add insulation to our assemblies where appropriate, and we use superior OEM-style constant tension clamps in most of our hoses. Constant tension clamps are unlike the worm drive clamps that are common throughout the aftermarket auto industry. They're a dynamic clamp, and they adjust to keep a firm grip on the hose even as the hose begins to relax and take a set. That ability to work under changing conditions is exactly why you'll find them almost exclusively in original equipment applications. Speaking of those clamps, we do something not everyone else does. We include them for all ends of the hose. Why chance using a damaged clamp or one that could have been replaced? We want customers to have a successful install, so we include all the hardware needed to make a proper repair. Nobody wants to root around in the spare parts bin when trying to get a car back to its owner. Another thing we do is address hose ends. We often fix hoses where leaks caused by faulty connections are the problem. Sometimes the mating interface leaves a lot to be desired, so we fix them, saving difficult repeat repairs. Occasionally, we'll also offer kits for hose assemblies that have proprietary connections that may fail. Sometimes those have either high costs associated with replacement, be it expensive parts or extensive labor. We'll develop a more universal solution that may involve replacing only a section of a high labor hose or possibly a section of a more expensive assembly to allow replacement of just that failed piece or section. We also make all metal assemblies for vehicles that can use them. These cars and trucks can suffer from internal corrosion of the heating system. That point of failure isn't always available from traditional rubber manufacturers. Our line of heater hoses is an auxiliary one, made to handle the most difficult to install and difficult to manufacture pipes, hoses, and assemblies. We're an excellent complement to traditional hose offerings, making the most difficult repairs a little simpler and a lot longer lasting. We hope you're a little better familiar with the Dorman approach to heating repair solutions. And remember, if you need anything at all, the Dorman technical support team is always handy to help. Thanks for checking out our video on heater hose assemblies. I'm Miriam, and I'll see you next time.